This weekend, Virginia International Raceway and the Sports Car Club of America combine to form a mecca for lovers of sports car racing. Almost 500 drivers in over 20 classes will do battle in a race for the gold. Since 1964, SCCA has been crowning national champions at its annual runoffs. It's the peak of the Summit Racing Equipment SCCA road racing program. For the second straight year, welcome to the track that Paul Newman once called Heaven on Earth, for the historic 60th running of the annual SCCA Runoffs. Hello and welcome to Virginia International Raceway. Bright sunshine here. What a change it is from here a year ago when we raced under hurricane conditions for much of the weekend. But it could not be more beautiful here. A Chamber of Commerce day, temperatures in the mid-70s. I'm John Phippen. Alongside me is Tom O'Gorman. And we've got one more member of our broadcast team down on pit lane. He'll give us all the scoop. It's Hayward Wagner. Hey, Hayward.
Guys, it is warm. Probably for the first time in the last couple of days, we are legitimately warm here at VIR for the Touring 4 race. We've got 3 of the FRS BRZ twins on the front of the field. Then we've got some Mazdas. A lot of people look at these cars and think in T4 trim they're going to be very similar, not a lot of variation in the car. Generally, that's true. Your front 2 cars are running the A7. You've got Nick Leverone here. He's running the R7. A7 beyond that. But one thing I did notice, if you look right here at the front of our pole sitter, Devin Anderson's car, he's got about, I would say, an inch or so of tire tucked up in the fender here. I can't even get my finger into the gap here. Nobody else is running that low in the class. A relative newcomer may have found some speed with setup, but that is a seriously tight package there.
This class has been dominated the past several years by the Subaru BRZ, Toyota 86, Scion FCRS, basically all the same car, different badging. And that's no surprise that we've got 3 of them at the front of the field this year, too.
Yeah. Hey, John. It is definitely proven to be a little bit of a better package, or the most consistent package anyway, at VIR specifically. But as Hayward mentioned, it's a very tight field. The top 9 covered by about 1 full second, and it is the 3 twins, we'll call them, at the top of the field, but then a bunch of RX-8s and MX-5s completing that.
Here's the track, Matt. Take us around, if you would, Tomo.
Well, it's got a couple different sectors that present very different challenges, so we'll see the cars ebb and flow throughout this lap with different makes and models. The first sector, definitely the handling, kind of mechanical grip sector, that slow hairpin opening up into turn 1. Then NASCAR turn 3, big wide open fast corner into the lower S's, which is critical. These entire S's are going to be flat out in all of these cars. We're taking a look now into sector 2 at those uphill S's, into South Bend, a really critical corner for bravery, but ultimately doesn't make or break your lap nearly as much as that exit at turn 12 onto the back straightaway. These cars do have some drafting in play here, not so much working together on purpose, but it will keep cars in the fight down towards Hogpen and Roller Coaster. Roller Coaster being 13, 14, and 15. Hogpen being that 16, 17 complex, falling down the hill in a couple of different drops onto that front straightaway. Another critical exit here at VIR.
Yeah, 2 great braking zones, obviously, into turn 1 and then into the roller coaster as well. As we've got some crew members doing a little push or holding our pole-sitting car in place, it appears. So don't know if that's going to delay our grid or not, but everybody's getting fired up here. Again, we mentioned the Subaru Toyota Scions at the front of the field, but then Mazda RX-8s, Mazda MX-5s, and their variants make up the vast majority of this 24-car field. As they will be heading off on their parade lap, we'd like to thank Sport Durst Mazda in Durham, North Carolina, for providing the Mazda safety cars for us here for the course of the race weekend. And it looks like everybody's squared away, and you hear the whistles. That usually means that the field's about ready to pull out. They're giving them 1 minute. That sounds like a plan. We've got a number of former champions in the field. Marshall Mast, a 4-time and defending champion in the class. Nick Leverone, won in 2019. But we've also got some rookies making their first runoff start as well. Christian Bromlich is making his first runoff start, as is Jeff Gordano, Aiden Rose, and Matthew Milford. But now that the field is rolling away, let's introduce them to you. As in row 12 on the outside, Car number 29 is John McClendon out of Southport, North Carolina, the North Carolina region, in an MX-5. Making his first runoff start is the 131 of Matthew Milford from New Bern, North Carolina, also the North Carolina region, in a Honda Civic SI. In row 11, the 85 of Christopher Dean from Wilmington, North Carolina, the North Carolina region, in a Scion FRS. Next to him, the 09 of Morgan Mailer from Belleville, North Carolina, the North Carolina region, in a Mazda MX-5. Moving up into row 10, the 68 of Ron Munnerlin from Bennettsville, South Carolina, the North Carolina region, in an MX-5. And the 24 of Ken Landrum out of Queensbury, New York, in the Mohawk Hudson region, in a Subaru BRZ. In row 9, a rookie making his first start, the 46 of Aiden Rose from Statsburg, New York, in the New York region, in an MX-5, and the 3 of Brent Simonson from Millersville, Maryland, in the Washington, D.C. region, in an RX-8. Another rookie starts outside of row 8. That's the 34 of Jeff Gordano from Cary, North Carolina, in the North Carolina region, in an MX-5, and the 18 of Owen Schaefer from Warrenton, Virginia, and the Washington, D.C. region, in an RX-8. Row 7, the 80 of Richard Estacio from Wilton, Connecticut, the New England region, in an MX-5. And another MX-5 is the 69 of Jeremy Butts from Damestown, Maryland, and the Washington, D.C. region. In row 6, the 142 of Paulo Salvatore from San Antonio, Texas, and the Houston region, in a Ford Mustang V6. Next to him, super sweep eligible driver, the 118 of Sergio Zlobin out of Houston and the Houston region, in an MX-5. In row 5, car 50, Stephen Blethen from Bow, New Hampshire, in the New England region, in an RX-8, and the 98 of Kevin Fryer from Durham, North Carolina, in the Washington, D.C. region, in an MX-5. In row 9, the 21 of Christopher Windsor from Thurmont, Maryland, in the Washington, D.C. region, in an MX-5. And the highest placed rookie in the field, the 83 of Christian Braunlick from Fort Mill, South Carolina, in the Central Carolinas region, in an RX-8. In row 3, the 95 of Jonathan Newdorf from Scottsdale, Arizona, and the Phoenix, Arizona Solo region, in a Mazda Miata. Next to him, the 04 of Jaden Lander from New York in the New York region, in an MX-5. In row 2, on the outside, car 51, Raymond Blethen from Londonderry, New Hampshire, in the New England region, in an RX-8. And then the 16-time, this will be the 17th start, should we say, for the number 186 of Nick Leverone from Mendon, Massachusetts, in the New England region. As we mentioned, he won this class in 2019 in a Subaru BRZ. On the front row, the 4-time and defending champion, car number 31, Marshall Mast from Denver, Pennsylvania, and the Philadelphia region, in a Toyota 86. And your pole sitter, winning the Tire Rack Pole Award, Devin Anderson in the car number 11 from Mooresville, North Carolina, and the North Carolina region, in a Subaru BRZ. Tomo, we've got a lot of cars here from the Carolinas.
Yeah, it's a home track for a lot of these drivers, but this is also, like I mentioned, a very, very tight field. We have those three twins at the front, and we'll keep an eye on this number 31. That car has won national championships with John Heinrichsey at the wheel, and last year's national defending champion, Marshall Mast, now drives it here. Both of the front row cars are the newer 2017 to 2019 range, a little bit different gearing and power than Nick Leverone's, but it all evens out based on the spec lines here in T4.
Yeah, last year, that was, I think, the first time we see John Heinrichsey winning a championship in something other than a GM product. So that was great to see. And John, of course, we'll be seeing a little later on in Touring 2. But the field is now making its way out of Hog Pen as the safety car pulls into the pit lane. The acceleration zone is about halfway down the pit lane, and that's where the leader can begin to accelerate. The green flag will indicate that the race is on as we wait. And once that's the case, everybody's free to move. There's the green, and we are underway. We've got 15 laps or 40 minutes to determine the champion in Touring 4 for the 2023 runoffs.
Great start for the Mustang from outside of the top 10. Paulo Salvatore drives it up the outside, almost into the top 5 for that Mustang, and see if he can keep it there. But at the front, a great start for Devin Anderson. They're going to get single file pretty quickly as Salvatore uses that great start to immediately dirt drop it into the exit of turn 1 and is going to lose all that momentum.
3 wide coming into turn 1, 3 wide into NASCAR as well. This looks like a spec Miata race. These guys are really laying it on each other in the early running here.
Oh, it's a pass for the lead. Mast goes up the inside of Anderson. They're going to be side by side through the snake. No, Mast clears him, and that's going to put the 31 car out of the Phoenix Performance stable straight to the top early on. That's a great move over Anderson. Leverone not really able to capitalize on it, but is still going to follow in third.
The Mustang of Salvatore still hanging it out there, running side by side with these cars as he's trying to find a spot. And there he is as he finally gets into single file. Everybody under the bridge as they make their way into the climbing S's. Every driver's favorite part of this race course. You can see them snaking through this wonderful part of the track, and then they come into the very, very tricky South Bend. It looks a little deceiving on the camera, but it is definitely a corner that requires some serious commitment.
Another good start for the two MX-5s we see running in 5th and 6th. Jaden Lander and Jonathan Neudorf both able to jump Raymond Blethen through the first sequence of corners. So we have the 3 twins that we mentioned, the 2 MX-5s, and then 2 RX-8s running in that order right now.
We have 2 Blethens in the field. Do you know are they brothers, father and son?
Twins actually.
Twins, no kidding, fantastic. As they climb the hill, and we got a bid for the lead here. It is not over yet between Leverone and the 31 of Marshall Mast as they go side by side at the top of the hill.
Wow, a dominant move from Mast puts Devin Anderson nearly through the grass as they kink up into the roller coaster and now down the hill towards Hogpen, still side by side. And they're actually doing a pretty good job of not losing a lot of pace, as Leverone still being very, very patient, hasn't crammed that car up the inside or outside. I think he doesn't know really who he wants to pick to work with just yet, but that has finally brought these MX-5s into a really, really tight run up the front straight.
And now they've sort of gagged up on one another, and they're going to break Marshall Mast back just a little bit as Devin Anderson, the pole sitter, retakes the lead here as they head down into turn number 1. And then right behind him, the 04 car of Jason Lander now up into 3rd spot. And that's Raymond Blethen in the 51 right behind him.
It's kind of a strange drop there for Nick Leverone. He had a great head of steam tucked up underneath Devin Anderson, and suddenly he's found himself all the way back in 5th. Looks like he just didn't have a great drive into or out of turn 1. Oh, and another move from Marshall Mast. Does a rinse repeat, tries it up the inside again. It worked last time, but it's not going to work this time.
Yeah, exactly. We've seen that move come to tears in a couple races this weekend already as they work their way side by side through the lower S's here, kicking up dust as they drop a wheel off.
And that opened the door for Jonathan Neudorf to get a good run around the outside through the snake and up into the upper S's. Marshall Mast going to come back at him, but also defending on Jaden Lander. Things are getting really scrappy here, and it's bringing more and more cars into the fight. The Raymond Blethen and Christian Bronlick are also now tacked onto the back of this battle. And you're right, it does look very similar to Spec Miata right now.
Yeah. Jonathan Neudorf up into that 2nd spot. But Devin Anderson, the pole sitter, the tire whack pole sitter, trying to get away at the front.
Chris Windsor, our camera car for the 2nd year in a row, had awesome view of last year's weather-affected race from this car, the number 21. He sits just at the back of this battle for the lead now, is just outside the top 10, pushing the number 46 of Aiden Rose towards Kevin Fryer.
Hear that car up on the cam as it comes up to what we call terminal velocity, and just a little bit of a love tap on the 46 of Aiden Rose as they come up that last little rise, and then just a tap of the brakes there to make sure that the pads are seated. And side by side with the 95 of Jonathan Neudorf and Marshall Mast, the 4-time winner.
Little touch between the two, and this is letting Devin Anderson get away just a little bit. It's going to be Mast that comes out on top. He runs just a little bit wide, keeps it on the track though, and he's going to have a little bit better head of steam down the front straight due to the power, but 2 Miatas are faster than 1. We know that from Spec Miata. Lander is going to get a big push onto the back of Neudorf and try to keep them into this fight for 2nd place.
Mast is going to try to duck in front of them and be part of this train, but obviously the Mazdas are going to try to get around him if they possibly can. Meanwhile, pole sitter Devin Anderson getting away at the front. He's built up about a 2.5 lead as we're working race lap number 3.
See the RX-8 of Raymond Blethen in the 4th position in this train. That's 5th place overall. Not as much torque in that car as the other cars, but it does tend to have really good top speed. The only issue, it does tend to struggle just a little bit with heat management in that rotary with those cars dealing with. So hopefully he can keep that car in the fight, as Paolo Salvatore is still really, really dealing with a lot of pressure from the back of our camera car, Chris Windsor.
Yeah, the Mustangs that are eligible for this class run the V6 motor as opposed to the V8 motor that we see in some of the other classes. So Paolo has his hands full. That car looks giant compared to the rest of the cars in this field, so I'm sure he's got to deal with that, but he's got some pretty good torque coming off the corners.
Yeah, it was big enough to, I think Chris Windsor just basically curb jumped the entirety of turn 6 entering the lower S's because he couldn't really see where the track was. And we've got dirt dropping from, I think that's the second place car. Oh, it's a big crash for Marshall Mast. Dropped a tire and into the tire wall on the left side of the track, just in front from second place. Now almost a spin for the 80 of Rich Estacio.
Yeah, that's a tank slapper for Richard. He gets it gathered up before he gets all the way to the tire barrier and joins right in the thick of the battle a little further up the road as they're working their way down Madison Avenue and climbing the hill. Devin Anderson, Marshall Mast, and Jonathan Newdorf were the top 3, but Mast with that off to driver's left on the run up toward Oak Tree.
Blethen with an attempt to pass for third place now, I believe, on Jaden Lander. And we suspect this will go full course. It does,
yep.
As Mast. That was a pretty big impact into the tire wall on the left side of the track. Uncharacteristic mistake, but it's an easy thing to do at that spot on the track. You drop, it's the bravest corner on the track. You drop one tire too wide, and it gets really, really bumpy, and it can float the car either out to the right, off to the left. It's easy to overcorrect. You're going 100 and some miles an hour already. Yep. It's an easy mistake to make, but very uncharacteristic from the defending champion.
Yeah, this is very much, and we've talked about it many times, this is very much an old school racetrack in that, there's not asphalt runoffs at every turn and gravel traps and all that. If you drop a wheel off, you're going for a ride because the track falls, or the landscape falls away from the edge of the track at just about every place that you can get off course. So usually if you drop 2 wheels off, it's soon going to become 4.
So go ahead.
I was just going to say, full course yellow is out. That indicates everybody's going to pack up behind the safety car. So just a quick rundown. We've got Devin Anderson as your leader. Jonathan Newdorf now up into second with the problem for Marshall Mast. Jaden Lander in the red 0 is up to third. Raymond Blethen in the 4th spot. Nick Leverone rounding out the top 5. Christian Brownlick, Kevin Fryer, Aiden Rose, Sergio Zlobin, the Super Sweep eligible driver, and Paolo Salvatore in the Mustang are your top 10. While we have this full course yellow, let's take this opportunity to step aside for just a moment and thank some of the folks that make the racing possible here at the 60th running of the SCCA Runoffs.
Mazda's been very supportive of racers within the SCCA and all the other grassroots organizations for many, many years. Really, their support for racing and our type of racing is unmatched from any other manufacturer. They've been a great partner for many, many years.
Mazda, hands down, is the best company to work with for sports car racing. Factory support is second to none. It just feels right. You feel connected.
Hagerty Race Days presented by Mazda here at the 60th running of the SCCA National Championship Runoffs. John Phippen alongside Tom O'Gorman. As we can see, Marshall Mast climbing out of the car. It was a pretty good hit, but glad to see he's climbing out under his own power. As we're going to get a replay here in just a moment of the incident that happened very early in the race. On lap number 2, you can see Mast. He dropped 2 wheels off. You can see the cloud of dust. And then he is off and into the tire barrier on driver's left, but the tires did their job, decelerated the car, and Marshall able to climb out. And then right after that, a bit of a tank slapper for the 80 of Richard Estacio, but he was able to gather it up. So we're stacked up behind the Mazda safety car as the field will need just a moment or two. We could see the tilt bed already in position back there at that incident for Marshall Mast. And as you said, Tomo, that's a very, very difficult section of the track. If you get it a little too wide coming out of South Bend, you're going for a ride.
Yeah, you're traveling so quickly, it's hard to tell if you need to under or over correct. And it looked like Mast was able to basically kind of keep the car under control, but he undercorrected, and it's equally bad to over and undercorrect, right? So if the car is kind of floating and bouncing, and you read the situation as I need to do less, and you needed to do more, that's kind of where the ease of that mistake comes in. But we're working about 10 minutes on lap 4 of this 40-minute or 15-lap race. So if we get this car pulled out pretty quickly, we should be able to complete all of the laps. T4 is one of the slower classes overall here in the runoffs, though, so we may come up against that 40-minute window a little bit quicker with these cars.
There are a number of contingency awards that are offered to the racers throughout the course of the weekend, and it's basically a different award for each of the qualifying days. One of them is the Sunoco 260 award, which is awarded to the driver on Tuesday qualifying who sets the time with the last 3 digits closest to 260. And the winner of that one is the man in his 17th runoff start, Nick Leverone, in the number 186. Nick out of Mendon, Massachusetts, in the New England region, the 2019 champion of the class, and he picked up 15 gallons of Sunoco race fuel for winning the Sunoco 260 award. You can see Nick's car there in our camera shot as everybody stacked up behind the safety car.
This should be a decent opportunity for Nick to reset. He had that difficult turn 1. We don't know, maybe a misshift or just got hung out to dry a little bit around the outside. He was challenging for second place when it happened, and then he just kind of floundered back to what was 5th. Now, sorry, 6th is now 5th. But a restart is a good time to reset when you're kind of been on the back foot for a lap or so. Right behind Ray Blethen in the RX-8, and then it's Jaden Lander, Jonathan Neudorf in that order up to Devin Anderson for your top 5.
And just one change in the order, Sergio Slobin making his way up into 8th position. Sergio is worth mentioning because he is a driver eligible for the Super Sweep. The Super Sweep is one of the toughest, if not the toughest award to win in SCCA road racing. It basically has 4 legs. In order to win the Super Sweep, the driver must win one of the Hoosier Super Tour races. He then must win the Hoosier Tour National Championship, Points Championship. He then needs to win a U.S. Majors Tour Conference Championship and win the runoffs. It's tough to do, but we've already crowned at least one Super Sweep winner already this year, and Sergio Slobin, if he can find his way to the front, could be another winner of that. We'd also like to acknowledge our Hawk Performance Breakthrough winner. The Hawk Performance Breakthrough is for the driver who improves the most places between Tuesday and Wednesday's qualifying. And he gets a set of Hawk brake pads. And the Hawk winner this weekend is Raymond Blethen in the number 51 car. He made up 5 spots between his qualifying performance on Tuesday into Wednesday. And so he's the winner of the Hawk Performance Breakthrough Award.
It looked like Sergio Slobin may have made that pass under the full course after the full course caution had came out on Aiden Rose, so he may be waiting to get that back under the restart, or perhaps they were more alongside each other when the yellow came out than our camera angles show.
Yeah.
Hopefully that was a good clean pass. Back on board with Chris Windsor, who had raced his way now into. No, he's actually still just outside of the top 10.
Yeah, in 11th spot is Christopher Windsor. Nice to have that camera shot aboard his Mazda MX-5. Sports Car Magazine, of course, makes their annual prediction as who's going to win the race, and they're betting on Marshall Mast. That has not come to fruition as Marshall, the 4-time and defending champion, falls out of the race and brought out this full course yellow. The other 2 drivers projected to be on the podium are Sergio Slobin. We talked about him as the Super Sweep eligible driver, and Christopher Windsor, with whom we ride. He was picked to be on the top 3. But Devin Anderson, your pole sitter and winner of the Tire Rack Pole Award. The Tire Rack Pole winner, by the way, wins a $500 gift certificate for Tire Rack, as well as some nifty other swag. So these contingency programs are the lifeblood of club racing. These drivers are all amateurs. There are no big cash awards for winning one of these races. It's strictly a gold, silver, or bronze medal. And your reputation as one of the fastest shoes in the country on this weekend, which in my humble opinion is the best racing weekend on the planet. You see more great racing on one of these runoffs weekend than you see just about anywhere else at any other time. And so it's great to see this wide variety of racing cars, everything from spec Miatas all the way through prototype cars and Formula Atlantic and open wheel cars that lap this track much, much faster than these guys do. This is at the bottom of the touring ladder, touring 1, 2, 3. This is touring 4. But we're going to see some of the faster touring classes a little later on this weekend as well.
Yeah, it's one of the most attainable classes for sure. These are obviously familiar sports cars. None of them are brand new, so they're easy to come across and build into race cars. Lightly modified, we're talking maybe shocks, maybe springs. Some of them are not even allowed those allowances based on their spec line. But we're seeing an indication of how warm it is now that the sun has come out at VIR. Drivers getting their hand out the window, guiding some air into the cockpit, trying to stay cool under these full course cautions. And obviously you get hotter when you're racing, but it starts to only sink in once the full course comes out, like, oh, it's actually really hot in this race car.
Exactly right. And you don't have quite as much breeze coming through the cockpit as you do. You've been here all weekend for the qualifying sessions as well. The weather has been kind of mixed. It's been mostly, we haven't had any rain, thank God, but the weather has been kind of mixed with overcast conditions, coolish conditions, as we heard from Haywood Wagner down on the grid. This is the hottest it's been in all week, basically.
Yeah, and even more so for T4. They've actually been one of the first races every day for the last couple of years. And I was wondering, talking to a couple of the drivers, the pole time last year was in the 209s. This year, barely into the 210s. I was like, where did the speed go? Did they change the class? Did you all get more weight? What's going on? And they're like, no, we're actually just racing in the middle of the heat of the day in the afternoon for the first time in a couple of years. So it's just the engines are getting hotter. They're making a little bit less power. The top speeds are down just a little bit, but everything else is the same. So it's for the drivers that are repeat comeback drivers every single year after year after year. All of them have just been a little bit slower this year due to that warmer condition.
Yeah, there have been, if you add up all of the starts for the entire field, there are 79 runoff starts in total for the 16 drivers that are taking part in this race. And 5 different winners. We mentioned Marshall Mast, who's now out of the race, with the most wins, a 4-time winner, and Nick Leverone, the only other winner in the class, with a single win here in 2019, the first time the runoffs came to Virginia International Raceway, and he took the win in T4 that time. But this is his 17th runoff, as we mentioned. And the reason we're in a little further delay, Marshall's car is long gone, but as you saw, there was some damage to the tire barrier, and so the track worker is having to replace some of the tire bundles to make sure that that's a safe place, because if somebody goes off there, somebody else could go off there, obviously. So when the tire bundles get deranged by contact, we need to get them replaced, and that's why we're taking just a little extra time to make sure that safety measure is in hand.
You see the pace car slowing down, or the pace SUV in this case, slowing down pretty significantly, and that's usually an indication that they're trying to get the race restarted this lap and buy just a little bit more time, as it looks like we're down to just two vehicles and a couple of crew there with the loader. But the tire trucks are all gone. They're just finally getting everything in place, and if they go slow enough, we can get a green flag maybe this time by. And Devin Anderson had built up quite a bit of a lead after some scrapping between Jonathan Neudorf, Marshall Mast, and then that spin from Mast gave him obviously even a little bit more, but then took it all away immediately when the yellow flag came out. So now he's got a mirror full of a couple of cars, but a couple of cars that he hasn't seen in his mirror yet. Neudorf and Lander both getting by Leverone, and now obviously Mast missing means that the MX-5s are going to have a shot at the lead right away.
Yeah, exactly right. As he and Leverone are the remaining BRZs in the front of this field, as they're surrounded by Mazdas. You talked about the difference in what the preparation level of these cars and what they're able to do. You wouldn't think that an RX-8 and an MX-5 could compete in the same class on equal footing, but obviously the RX-8s carry a little more weight. They can't do quite as much stuff to the suspension to try to equalize that out. Yeah,
looking at about 2,600 pounds for the MX-5s, somewhere in the 2,800 to 2,900 pound range, depending on the year for the twins, and about 3,100 pounds for the RX-8s. Obviously, those cars came with a rated 230, 240 horsepower versus the MX-5's 160. The BRZs and FRSs somewhere in the 190 at the wheel. So they just basically are balancing off power to weight, but it is very specific down to the year of the car. What are you allowed to do to that car? And that's where I point out the difference between Leverone and Anderson. Those cars are about 6 years apart. They have different final drives. They have different power bands. So they have a little bit different of a spec line. The lights are out on the pace car. That basically indicates we are about to go green once again. It'll be a single file restart as we are completing race lap number 6
Again, the time could be a factor as we're about halfway through the time with about 20 minutes remaining. As they approach the acceleration zone, our pole sitter, Devin Anderson, can choose to accelerate, but once the green is out, you can immediately see everybody popping out. And the 51 of Raymond Blethyn getting a fantastic run, and it looks like Leverone is coming with him as they're going to get side by side with a leader by the time they get to turn 1.
No kidding. That was a killer start for the RX-8 driver. Leverone's not quite able to cling around the outside as well as the RX-8 did. It's going to be Neudorf still alongside now with a great run off of turn 1, challenging for the lead.
And Blethyn right in behind our leader. And here comes the 95 of Neudorf in the MX-5, trying to go around the outside as they're still side by side, 3 wide as they approach the left hook. And it looks like Anderson's going to be able to get back into the lead, but Neudorf right on his bumper, then Leverone, then the 51 of Blethyn.
Rich Estacio also
we got
up there,
somebody
but
going
Chris
off
Windsor,
big.
our camera car, is going to make it just short of the tire wall coming off the lower S's. Gets it going again. Harmless, other than it lost a lot of track position.
Yeah, spinning out of 10th spot, but he got it back on the road, and he'll be in chase mode now to see if he can catch up with the rest of the field.
But I was saying, Rich Estacio from 8th on the restart. It looks like he was challenging for about 5th in his black and orange MX-5. Once we cut back up to the field, there he is in now 4th position. So right now it is, oh no, that is 5th. That was Leverone in 3rd, not our leader, Devin Anderson. So it's Anderson, Neudorf, Blethyn, Leverone now, as this is a small mistake, or maybe he got some help for Chris Windsor.
Yep, there was a little love tap there on the right. You can hear as much as see it, as giving these drivers each other running room to run side by side is something we were talking about in between races here in the commentary booth. But look at Leverone side by side with Blethyn, and Leverone's got some help. Lander right behind him, giving him a little bit of a push. And then coming into this battle is the 80 of Richard Estacio as well, as they're swallowing up Raymond Blethyn as Blethyn gets shuffled back a couple spots. Leverone leading this battle. This is all going on for 3rd spot, the final step on the box.
Ooh, big push for Ray Blethyn, keeps it on the track, but loses some time through Hogpen, and that's going to break that train just a little bit. But now it looks like Jaden Lander is bump drafting, not quite able to get to the back bumper of Leverone, and all of that battling has given a little bit of a gift to Anderson and Neudorf, who have let's call it a 10 car length lead now over the rest of the field.
Yeah, but this battle right behind him, the 83 of Kristen Braunlake in the red RX-7, or RX-8, I guess I should say. And Sergio Zlobin, who is our Super Sweep eligible driver, going after it side by side at the exit of turn 1.
For the lead, Neudorf up the inside on Anderson, shuts the door by inches. I think they actually traded paint just a little bit. The 95 MX-5 goes to the lead. Then Devin Anderson just behind actually had to check up, I think, with the confidence of Neudorf to shut that door. I think he was accommodated just slightly by Devin Anderson there.
He realizes it's a long race. We got plenty of it. We're not even to half distance yet. We're just past half on the time table, but we're working a race lap number 8 of the scheduled 15. So this one could go either way. We might run out of time before we run out of laps, but there's still plenty of racing left to go. Through South Bend they come, and you can see right out to the edge of the track. That's where it all went wrong for Marshall Mast as they work their way through this double apex left-hander. There's the 118 of Zlobin, that Robin's Egg Blue MX-5 right at the tail end of that draft.
Been on a little bit of a charge. That driver started down in 11th, and he's currently in 8th, but that doesn't tell the whole story. He was well back of this pack of cars, so he's made up only 3 positions, but he's also made up a heck of a lot of race distances. Now Devin Anderson coming back, a big power move, literally. Horsepower's right around Jonathan Neudorf.
Yeah, exactly. As they come into the braking zone for the sharply downhill roller coaster. And there goes Leverone with the 04 of Lander right behind him. And then once again, we see Anastacio in the 80 trying to put himself into this battle.
Christian Bromlick wants this position. Looks like Ray Blethyn struggling just a little bit with the handling on that car, and now it's going to bring the red RX-8 of Christian Bromlick around his outside up to start lap number 9. And back at the front, this is kind of telling a story of how important the draft might be for the MX-5s. Once Jonathan Neudorf was in front, his trap speed at the end of the back straight only 116 miles an hour. The twin of Anderson able to do over 120, so that's 6-7 miles an hour advantage just down the back straight. But once he has the draft, look, he's able to put the pressure right back on and go for another move.
This battle for 5th is a dandy. Right at the moment, it is Blethyn at the front, but the 83 right behind him of Brondlich, as that gaggle of cars works its way through the left hook. Then the 98, we haven't talked about Kevin Fryer much. He's now put himself up into the thick of this battle. And then right behind him is Slovin.
Slovin picks up another position, getting in front of Rich Estacio in the back of that 5-car train. In that exchange between Anderson and Neudorf, that last lap has brought Leverone and Jaden Lander much closer, less than a second, I would say, as they've finally sort of stabilized that battle for the lead. Got to be a little careful for Neudorf if he starts to attack too much. It looks like he's able to make moves, but it's high risk. It's bringing more drivers in.
The 142, the Mustang of Paolo Salvatore, has been in contact with something, obviously, as the front clip is missing on that car.
Yeah,
that looks to be the outside of turn 1, I'm thinking.
It is, and the bash bar is also dented slightly, so I don't know if looks like it would have been the 46 that he got into.
Yeah, the 46 with some left rear damage, so my guess is that was an out-braking maneuver that went wrong at the braking zone there at turn number 1.
Going to look like a couple of drift cars with bumpers missing at this point, but this is that battle for 3rd. Leverone leading Lander. How much better the MX-5, able to close up on the brakes, but wasn't close enough to do anything quite with it.
So some two-way battles at the front between Anderson and Neudorf, and then Leverone and Lander in the battle for the 3rd place or bronze medal. And then Blethyn leading the parade behind for 5th place, as they come by to complete race lap number 9.
And even in the draft, look at Devin Anderson just pull away from Jonathan Neudorf, struggling with top-end speed in that number 95. But then once we get through this first sector is the handling sector. Mechanical grip and balance is king, and you're going to see, I think, Neudorf's going to close that gap up as all these cars dodging the debris left over from Paolo Salvatore.
Yeah, and it looks like, fortunately, it's going to get itself off the track, just being blown off, basically. So we should be able to stay green, as that won't bring out a problem. The corner workers will be showing a debris flag, which is the orange and red striped flag, to the drivers, indicating that there's some debris on the racetrack. This battle for 2nd is a dandy. We've been following it for a while. Leverone in the BRZ, and Jaden Lander in the MX-5 right behind him. And then Blethyn and Brondlich in the blue and orange RX-8, and Brondlich in the red RX-8 have separated themselves just a little bit from Kevin Fryer and the group behind.
Great lap from Blethyn and Brondlich here, working together to turn personal best laps and currently personal best sector 1s. As now Brondlich looks to the outside, going to go for a brake maneuver, pinches Blethyn just slightly towards the grass. They're going to keep it clean though. Blethyn now to the inside. It's much easier to hold this position, but it ruins your run just slightly onto the back straight. Brondlich clearly with a little bit of a run, but he's going to tuck in and push.
Yep. Those two RX-8s obviously would be great drafting partners, and then right behind them, Kevin Fryer and Sergio Zloba trying to do the same thing in the MX-5 battle. As we go back to the battle for the lead, Anderson and Neudorf, but the best one is the one for 2nd, or 3rd, excuse me, between Leverone and Lander. A little deeper in the pack, once again, a look at the 50 car of Stephen Blethyn. He and Raymond are twins, did you say? So, you can see Windsor, our camera car, in recovery mode. If you remember, he had the spin there at turn number 1, and he's working his way back up through the pack. Currently in 17th position. Working his way down into Hog Pit. And onto the front straightaway.
So by my rough math, we're going to get 4 of the remaining 5 laps, I believe. We're starting lap 11, and we have 10 minutes left at a 2-minute and 11 or so lap time. I think that checks out to just 4 of these laps being able to be completed, but they haven't switched to the time just yet. I think they're going to wait to see right up against the time limit here in T4. So the tricky part is most of the drivers are going to have some sort of communication from their team they don't know how many laps are left. They don't know how quickly they need to make the moves, right? If you're expecting to make it on the last lap, or you're going to have 5 laps to do it and you only get 4, that's a little tricky.
Yeah, that battle for 5th spot between Blethyn, Brownlee, Fryer, and Slobin is gradually reeling in the 2 in front of them, the Nick Leverone, Jaden Lander battle. As Blethyn is getting ever closer to the back of Jaden Lander.
Yeah, it looked like he was struggling for a lap or so, but he's really recovered from that, and I think they're a little bit quicker than the cars in front, just slightly by the last couple laps, but not in a meaningful way. We're talking tenths and hundredths at this point, so it's really, really stabilized here for a moment in T4.
You can see Brownlee's car, the red RX-8 with a tire donut on the driver's side door, and he's going to pull out. No, sorry, that's Jaden Lander pulling out, thinking about making a move on Leverone, but I don't think this is the place to do it, because this is not a place where he's got a big advantage. He's thinking about it, though. Showed him a fender. Leverone's having to be a little bit defensive as they head down into the top of the hill at the roller coaster. But Blethyn and Brownlee coming strong to make that a 4-car battle here before we get to the end. Working race lap 11, as we mentioned. The leaders will be starting lap 12 here as they cross the line this time.
You can tell Jaden Lander is getting held up just slightly at every apex. When they come up on the brakes, the MX-5 closes right up to the back bumper, and then he's got to check up just a little more than he wants. His speed is just a little bit limited right now by Nick Leverone. He just can't figure out what to do with it because it's happening in those difficult positions, but he figured it out this time. Look at that, up the inside into turn 1.
Out-braking duel down into turn number 1. It looks like he's gotten it done. If he hasn't out-braked himself, Leverone might try to do the over-under. Can't do it. So we have a new third-place runner, and then the same kind of battle for the lead. Coming through this long, sweeping left-hander called NASCAR. And Devin Anderson with Neudorf to his outside. Can Neudorf hang there as they go into the left hook? Because that'll put him in prime position as they come into the lower S's.
It's a really tough pass to pull off within the same class of car. You almost need a different category of car to pull that off, but this is promising for Neudorf. If he got alongside down into or close enough into turn 1, if he could get that pass done in sector 1, he's clearly the stronger car through that part of the lap, and he could maybe try to get away just a little bit.
And this battle for third now has become a multi-car battle.
Yeah, what happened with Jaden Lander dropping back? I think that attack that he made into turn 1, it didn't pay off. And both Blethyn and Brownlee able to get through. Now Leverone has RX-8 headlights in his mirror instead of MX-5.
Exactly right. And here comes a Brownlee thinking about an inside move on Blethyn, but not quite able to close the deal. The 0-4 of Lander, as we said, shuffled back behind those two.
The RX-8s are very fast in a straight line right now down the back straight. You see Leverone planning where he wants to defend, and it's going to give a very open door to Ray Blethyn. Grabs another gear. I think he's going to clear him entirely down the back straight, and indeed he does.
Yeah, that was an easy pass for Blethyn. In fact, here comes Brownlee going to try to repay the favor as well, as Brownlee showing a little body damage on the right rear corner.
Whoa, I think they got together and floated for just a second through the braking zone. That was really, really tight between the two RX-8s, but they worked it out, and now Leverone has dropped from 3rd to 5th in 1 lap. Lander is trying to make it 6th.
Yeah, exactly right. Lander, his old nemesis, basically right back on his tail once again. And then just behind him, Kevin Fryer and Sergio Slobin there to pick up the pieces if these guys come to tears. But right at the moment, Blethyn will be at the front of this group, and that'll put him up to 3rd. Leverone shuffled all the way back into 5th position, and here comes Lander trying to go around the outside this time. As Leverone guarding the inside line, can Lander make it stick? Yeah, he gets the pass done before turn 1. You called it, Tomo. That's the place where he's most likely to get it done. Leverone tries to fight back, but as they come into NASCAR, again, this battle for the lead is a dandy. We got great battles here at the front of this field. As once again, Neudorf trying to find a way around. Our pole sitter, Devin Anderson.
Little clunky in turn 4 for Anderson. It's going to be a bad run into the S's now this time through. It's tough to make that kind of a pass work, but if you saw, Neudorf was trying to get to the better side of the track. He was on the driver's left. If he had been able to outbrake, that's where he's made the pass happen before. And again, it's going to be either 2 or it's going to be a full lap race, I think. I think we're going to make it.
As we are just about 34 minutes into the 40-minute time limit and working race lap 13, so we just might get them all in. Oh, little mistake from Blethyn, and that opens the door for Brownlee, and he gets by cleanly. And again, same place where Marshall Mast had his problem. He went a little wide coming out of South Bend, and that opened the door. And now Lander once again going after it with Nick Leverone. Those two just can't get away from each other. But look, the battle for the lead is side by side down Madison Avenue.
The pace of these BRZs at the very end of this race is looking a little bit weak. The MX-5s and the RX-8s both seem to be managing just a little bit better. Obviously, faster top speed for Devin Anderson, which is a big concern for Neudorf. If he gets in front, it looked a little too easy for Anderson to be able to just motor right back by. But the big momentum right to the back bumper gives him a push down the roller coaster.
Down the roller coaster they come. This is the battle for the lead. And then right behind a battle for third spot, the final step on the podium. With that reverse now as Bronlick in the red RX-8 in front of Ray Blethen in the orange and blue.
It's a good run for Neudorf through Hogpen. He's going to drop a couple of car lengths back down this front straight, but we know Sector 1 is good for that blue MX-5. Just behind Blethen, it's Christian Bronlick now in third for that bronze medal.
Working race lap 14. So it looks like we're going to get them all in, because if the timing and scoring had thought we were running out of laps, they would have thrown the white that time by. So we're going to get all 15 laps in. It looks like maybe a little body rub on Jaden Lander as he was going around the outside. I saw a little puff of smoke.
And meanwhile, Kevin Fryer is also gotten by Nick Leverone, so now it's going to be Sergio Slobin on the attack. And Neudorf for the lead, gets to the outside, but it's tough to hold this. Can he shut the door? Yes, he's clear.
But can he hold it? We'll see how it looks through the S's here. I would think the MX-5 would be a little handier through the uphill S's, but Devin Anderson has...
Good defense there from Neudorf. It's going to be flat out for both cars through the uphill S's, but the MX-5 should be stronger both through South Bend and in the brakes for Oak Tree. He needs the Oak Tree of his life to get a gap from Devin Anderson so that that car doesn't just get motored by again.
Here they come. They both right out to the edge of the track. That was close.
Anderson sawing at the wheel through it. That was good.
Yeah, exactly right. Into Oak Tree they come.
Oh, he caught the outside curb and floated just a little bit. I don't know that that's exactly what he needed, but he did get a good exit. Looks like Anderson's struggling to get the power down maybe a little bit more. But watch this BRZ start to chug up to the back of that MX-5. I don't think he's going to get clear of him, though. Look at this. They will be side by side by the time they get to the braking zone, but I don't think Anderson was close enough to motor it.
And Leverone dropping down the orders. Slobin is trying to get around him as well. And yeah, he got it done. Devin Anderson once again at the top end of the straight had just a little more terminal velocity and was able to get around Neudorf. So he's going to have to do it all over again, as they should be coming to the white flag this time by.
And look who's coming. Christian Bronlick is now within striking distance. If they get another lap of exchanging positions, this is going to be a 3-horse race. Again, the top speed for the MX-5 without a draft, 116 miles an hour. Top speed for Anderson with the draft, 123. There's not much you can do about that.
Yeah, Bronlick is cheering these two guys on to keep banging on each other. There's the white flag. We're on the final lap. So Bronlick's just hoping that these guys defending against one another will open the door for him to be a part of this battle, and he's there for the most part. It's only about 4 or 5 car lengths from Neudorf to Christian Bronlick in the red RX-8. Here they come as Anderson being a little defensive now down into NASCAR. That's going to sacrifice his exit speed just a bit. Neudorf might try to show him the dummy there and then pop at the last minute down into left hook, but no, he stays single file. I think realizing he might have a better opportunity a little later on, some debris being kicked off the track just as they come into the S's. Into the lower S's they come. Really a 3-car battle at the front. It's all going to come down to how they run through the climbing S's and the exit out of Oak Tree, as the rest of the field pretty much strung out here. These guys are going to settle it between them. I'll tell you what, Bronlick is looking really racy here.
Yeah, he's there. This is a 3-car race, but Devin Anderson has gotten a better run through a couple of the key corners than he has the last couple of laps, and that's put Neudorf really at a disadvantage. He's going to chuck it into Oak Tree. Good pivot out of the MX-5. Gets the power down too early, though, and steps it sideways. Christian Bronlick is going to have a run on the MX-5.
Yeah, and we know that the RX-8 has got plenty of straight line speed, so Neudorf may be a bit of a sitting duck here. Bronlick pulls out early, gets alongside him. Meanwhile, Devin Anderson hoping that they stay side by side long enough for him to be able to maintain his lead. Bronlick up to second now. Neudorf dropped back to third, but we've seen Neudorf really strong through the roller coaster and down through Hogpen. Once again, Devin Anderson backing them both up. This is not a done deal. We are heading into another side-by-side finish, I have a feeling, as they come down into Hogpen for the final time. The checkered flag awaits. Who is going to be able to maintain their position? Bronlick might have the advantage here. He's got a little more horsepower under the hood. He's going to pop out. We've had a side-by-side finish already this weekend, but I think Anderson's going to be able to hold him off barely, and does. Devin Anderson taking the gold medal. Christian Bronlick, what a great final lap as he was able to go from 4th up to 2nd. Jonathan Neudorf has to settle for the bronze medal. But man, what a great final couple of laps we had here as Raymond Blethen comes home in the 4th spot. Kevin Fryer, a good run into 5th. Sergio Zlobin won't be notching the super sweep this weekend, but he'll come home in 6th. Nick Leverone did not have the race that he had hoped for, running as high as 2nd for much of the race, but eventually fading for a 7th place finish. Jaden Lander also, he and Leverone were locked together for much of the race. Lander finally comes home in 8th spot. Richard Anastasio, in the number 80, comes home 9th, and Stephen Blethen rounding out the top 10 positions.
Chris Windsor able to race back up to 12th, by the way. Picked up 3 positions in the last lap alone. As these guys still racing their hearts out, the 09 and the 29, John McClendon.
And the 09 of Morgan Mailer. And they're going to go side by side. McClendon and Mailer battling for 18th and 19th position. McClendon able to hold off.
I'll tell you, Devin Anderson had a fantastic hog pen to finish this race off, and I think that's what won him the race.
Yeah.
Because he needed a perfect compression through the exit of that corner. I think if he'd have gone it any bit wrong at all, that RX-8 would have had enough legs to get him by the line, and he guaranteed it didn't happen. And also, a frustrating reality, but it is a reality for Jonathan Neudorf. Just not enough top speed out of that MX-5 to keep himself in the 2nd position, or even when he got to the lead a couple times, it was just a little bit too little, and unfortunately, a great driven race, but falls to 3rd there right at the last minute.
Here's your top 10. Devin Anderson from the pole takes the win in only his 2nd runoffs. Christian Bronlick finishing in the 2nd spot. Look at that margin of victory, less than a 1/10 of a second. Jonathan Neudorf, another half-second back, taking 3rd place honors. Raymond Blethen giving chase in 4th. Kevin Fryer comes home in the 5th spot. Sergio Zlobin, the super sweep eligible driver, has to settle for 6th. Nick Leverone fading to 7th at the end. Jaden Lander in 8th spot. Richard Estacio and Stephen Blethen rounding out the top 10. So the Blethen twins both get top 10 finishes in their runoffs.
And doing the cooldown lap information, I might add, side by side.
Christian Bronlick, by the way, a rookie making his first runoff start. He's going to be pleased with that, coming within just a whisker of notching a gold medal in his first runoff start. As we head down to Victory Circle, we're just waiting for our winning driver to unbuckle and get out of the car. And then he's going to celebrate big time. And standing by to interview our winner is Hayden Wagner. Hayward Wagner, sorry.
We're going to get Devin out of the helmet and get the medal on, get the Hoosier strap on. I think he's a little bit excited. We can't quite tell. We're going to have to find out. Devin, Tom O'Gorman thinks you might have driven the greatest hog pen of your life on that last lap to hold the lead down the front straightaway. How did that feel?
Yeah, it was scary watching that RX-8 barrel down on me at the end. I just want to say, amazing race by all my competitors. I mean, that was tough. That was a really tough race to win. Took a lot of consistency and really digging deep to try and stay ahead of these guys. Really just tough field.
How does it feel to win your 2nd ever runoff start?
Oh, I'm thrilled. We came into it here with the express goal of coming out with the victory, and we did just that. So it feels amazing. It's years-long work coming together. It's just amazing.
You get to take one more lap here at VIR. This one's a victory lap. Enjoy it.
All right, thank you. And thank you to my team, Tech Sport Racing, and sponsors, Redline Oil. Thank you. Helmet on?
Obviously, a winner, a little breathless. Obviously, you could just tell just how hard these drivers are working on this hotter afternoon than we've had. But he is obviously very, very stoked to take a gold medal on his first ever, or his second ever runoffs. As you can see, that battle replaying earlier on in the race. Let's head back down to Hayward with our second and third place finishers.
You literally saved the very best for last on that race. What was your mindset going into the last lap?
I couldn't really tell you, to be honest. I'm kind of speechless right now, but I saw them. They had a good probably 10, 15 car gap on me. I was like, cool, sitting in third place, and then next thing you know, they're going at it. So next thing you know, I'm catching them down the back straight away, and then I'm on Anderson's bumper coming down the front. So can't ask for anything better for my first runoffs.
What was your body language in the car coming to the stripe? Were you beating on the wheel? Were you pushing on it? What were you?
I was screaming at my dad on the radio, why? I'm so close, but I'm happy with second. Nothing I can do else.
It was an incredible drive. Congratulations. We're going to go ahead and grab Jonathan. Jonathan, you were everywhere in this race. You battled everybody. You had a great pass going into 4 there towards the end. What happened in the last lap or so?
I was just thinking, I knew he had the straight line speed on me, and I knew I had to make it up in the corners, and that's what I tried to do. I tried to make a late move into 4, which ended up sticking, but he caught me down the straight. So, and then he ended up catching up to us while we were scrapping, and he ran me down. So it was a really tight race. It was a close race. So it was a lot of fun. Yeah, the Mazda held up really well. It was awesome.
Well, congratulations to you on the bronze. A lot of big smiles here in the pit lane. These guys had a blast in this race.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was sweet.
Thanks, Hayward, and congratulations to our podium finishers. The Braunlick car definitely would be one of the front runners for the Sunoco Hard Charger Award, starting 7th and coming home just a whisker out of the lead. As you can see, Marshall Mast going after it with our pole sitter, Devin Anderson, in the early going. As Mast led for much of this race in the early stages. There he is diving down to the inside of Anderson, trying to make that move. As we see the rest of the field going 2 and 3 wide, but this is where it all went wrong for Marshall Mast as he dropped a wheel off at the exit of South Bend. Fortunately, he was able to climb out, but the car unable to continue. And then on the restart, the two RX-8s going after one another for much of the race. Finally, Blethen getting the better as they work their way through. But then on this final lap, Neudorf had the lead briefly, and it looked like he might have the opportunity. This was the next to the last lap. Neudorf might have the opportunity to take the win. But Anderson was able to power back around him, and then here is the final run out of Oak Tree, down Madison Avenue, as they head up toward the top of the hill. And here comes the pop out as Braunlick came just that close as they come across the line, about half a car length. That worked out to less than 1/10 of a second as our winner makes his way around on his victory lap with the checkered flag out the window. Another great race in the books as the sun is shining here in a Chamber of Commerce day at Virginia International Raceway. Thanks so much for being with us. On behalf of Tom O'Gorman and Hayward Wagner, I'm John Phipp, and thank you for being with us. We'll see you down the road.
A car like this shouldn't exist. Something this big, this luxurious, shouldn't move like a Mazda. And yet, it does.
Oh my God, it sounds epic as well. This car is an SUV with bragging rights.
The all-new 3-row Mazda CX-90.
Okay, so pretend this is your race car. It's on the trailer, on the way home after a day at the track. And say you have an accident. Ouch! But at least your truck's insurance will pay for another one? Yeah, not so fast. Your standard insurance probably won't pay to replace your car. That's true whether it's in the trailer, in the paddock, in the garage, or in the repair shop. If you want to be covered for the whole value of your race car, you need guaranteed value coverage from Hagerty. We agree on an accurate value up front, and in event of a covered total loss anywhere off the track, we pay that amount. You'll be protected in storage, in transit, in the paddock, or a repair shop against collision, fire, theft, no matter what or where you race. All for less per year than you spend on a set of racing tires. Haggerty, let's drive together.